Hi, I'm Lowell Francis, and I blog about RPGs at Age of Ravens. And I had a really solid month in January, a number of posts that I was really pleased with. And so, what I thought I'd try to do as an experiment is record a short video going over what I produced in January, produced in the month. And I'll put the links in the show notes to the articles and kind of walk through that. And at the end, talk about what I'm doing gaming wise and what I'm looking forward to putting out in February. So number one is a game hack that I put together. Really big fan of XCOM, the more modern one, but I'm really bad at it. So I get my squads killed, they're all dead. I'm not great. And I've gone back and I've looked at the earlier XCOM. That would absolutely destroy me. But I love the concept of it, that sort of global organization fighting against aliens. And I also love Monster of the Week, which is a Powered by the Apocalypse game and put out by Evil Hat, most recently in the new edition. And it focuses on sort of Buffy style, hunting of monsters, dealing with bad things, and that kind of solid episodic mystery. So in the hack, I talk about the ways in which you would put those together to kind of create an Alien of the Week event, Alien of the Week RPG, where you would have different playbooks for the different kinds of characters. It wouldn't be a tactical game, but more of a narrative one of the investigators going in and figuring out what's going on with the aliens. And then added to that, I would also have a sort of version of Pandemic Legacy. So when the investigators go and do their missions, they can find things out and salvage, and they can bring that back and build up the tech tree of their base, of their operation, and then they kind of go to the board between sessions, and we use those markers that you would use in Pandemic to sort of do alien infiltration and fear. Now, this is kind of a wild, big plan, and I sketch it out mostly. It would take a lot of work to actually get that hack to the table. I think it would be interesting and kind of fun, and I love being able to try out these exercises, and so I kind of go through that on the board. Number two is Old Dog, New Tricks, and this is based on the Play on Target podcast. I'm one of the four co-hosts for that. And we released an episode talking about RPG ideas that we used to use and don't use now, or new ones that we've come into. And we're lucky enough to be joined in the episode by Rich Rogers, who goes with the Indie Plus Network, and he also participates in the Gauntlet podcast. And he throws his 2 cents into the ring. Now, alongside that release of that podcast episode, I've also put together a post that has a list of different ideas, concepts, questions, things I thought about that we didn't get to in the episode. So it's kind of a decent post trying to fill in the gaps after that. So you can take a look. If you don't listen to the podcast, you can check out the post and see some of the ideas there. Number three fits with a game that I've been working on for the last few weeks. We're going to be doing a Middle-earth RPG using our homebrew action cards, and we're basing it in the old ICE setting for Middle-earth, which is 1640s or so, which is about 2,000 years before the actual War of the Ring and the Hobbit take place. And all of that old ICE material, the MERP stuff, is really wonderful. They're rich and full of detail and lots of interesting ideas. And when I went to the group and talked to them about when they wanted to play, this was the setting they wanted to do. But the question is then, how do you take that material where some of the players are more familiar with the movies, some of them have read the books, some of them really deeply read the books, but this whole 1640 period is very new to them. How do you get that across? So I put together a sort of list of key ideas and setting elements, these 23 things about our Middle-earth that the players need to know. And so I tried to consolidate that down, and I posted what I put together for that. And then number 4, following up from that, talks about when I went to do the revision of our action card homebrew, when I went to rewrite the rules, when I went to look at how you would simulate Middle Earth, what I went about doing. How I approached the skills, how I changed the system up. Action Cards is card-based, so I talk about how I adjusted the cards to fit with that. And I kind of, rather than a sort of more open Fate-style play, I built classes for that. So I go through my work process for building that campaign. Now, I'll admit that this post is as much as anything for my benefit, so that later on when I go to do another one of these things, I can go back and look at my earlier process, see what I think, and how much time it took to actually put all that together. Number 5 is another game hack, because I wanted to do as many of those as possible in this month. In any case, this starts with Base Raiders, which is one of my favorite superhero RPG settings. In that RPG, in that setting, the bigger superheroes, the great ones, have vanished. There's been an event that has removed them from the world. So what you're left with are the sidekicks and the low-level powered people and people with a little bit of equipment and things like that. And all of the supervillain and superhero bases, the satellites and the underground layers, those are all left behind. So what players do in the game is they're actually super base dungeon crawling. They're going down into here, they're checking out, they're finding out secrets, they're getting new equipment, they're boosting their powers. All of that is really cool. The problem with it is that I'm not as fond of the system that they use, Strange Fate. I think it's really interesting, and you could do it with Fate, but I think you lose a little bit of the dungeon crawl granularity that you need. So what I did was I took my right now favorite sort of D20 style dungeon crawler game, 13th Age, which I've run quite a bit, and I've reskinned that for Base Raiders. That's changing the different classes into superhero archetypes, and I show an example one in the post of how I built that and what the general changes are, and I kind of provide a template for anybody who wants to do that kind of thing to run it down. I've done a lot of work on it, and I think it's actually a game I might get to the table this year, either online or face-to-face, because I like the concept, and I love 13th Age, and I really want to give that a try. Next, number 6 is the second of our Play on Target episodes that were released in January. This time, the podcast looks at longer campaigns, how you manage them, how you sustain them, how you keep them going throughout a long period of time. And Rich Rogers again joins us, and you hear us talk a little bit about the different long campaigns that we've had, the longest ones, the 7 years and more campaigns, and how those held together or didn't. They seem to have held together for the other GMs better than I felt I did. We hear some vampire campaigns, some fantasy campaigns, Traveler. And then we talk about the challenges throughout that. What we did, things that we did as change-ups. We get some back and forth about what we liked or didn't like with that. And then the post that I actually have is, again, new ideas, new comments, and new thoughts, even some reflections and maybe disagreement with myself from the podcast in the actual post. So you can take a look at that. Again, don't have to listen to the podcast to look at the ideas there, but they nicely complement one another. Number 7 is a post talking about a current campaign that actually is 2 years old as of right now. It's called Ocean City Interface. And in the campaign, you've got kind of an alpha world in which the players exist in sort of a modern near future, but then they're also going into these portals, these different realms, and there's continuity with their characters in going into these fantasy realms, and then a techno ninja realm, and then a kind of Crimson Skies realm. And I talk about the structure of that campaign. Now, this is a concept that's been run a couple of other times amongst our local groups, and I look at the previous 2 versions, how the GM set those up, including the second one, which I did, and what lessons I learned from that, what changes I made or didn't make when I built the new campaign. So it's kind of an interesting look at at how you might refine your approach later on, multiple campaigns down the road, and the kind of learning lessons that you can take away from those. I think it's pretty cool. It's an ambitious campaign. 2 years in, it still feels like it's going really strong, and I can see, we've got a few more years to go in this, certainly. Finally, the last post that I have is another game hack. I take a look at Ben Robbins' Kingdom, which is one of my favorite games. It's a GM-less game, sort of in the vein of Microscope, but quite a bit different. In it, you've got a kingdom, and a kingdom is essentially a community that's tied together that you have characters from that want to keep the community going. So we've had a Battlestar Galactica type scenario. We've had a newsroom scenario. We've had a fantasy city where people overthrew the warlord. And all of those, it's important to kind of that we talk about the challenges that face it. We have these crossroads that we come to, and we play those out. And it's sort of, I always think of it as kind of an anti-Fiasco, where in Fiasco you always want to try and destroy and blow things up and things go crazy. In Kingdom, you're really struggling against the tensions that are outside to keep everything together. And it's absolutely one of my favorite RPGs. So what I did was I built another campaign seed, another kingdom seed for it. This one built on classic X-Men. So the seed itself is actually sort of Xavier's Academy. And I talk about different archetypes that you could have, talk about the different crossroads, how you would build the threats to it so you could really tailor the game. It doesn't exactly have to be the X-Men Academy. You could change it in many different ways. And I think I really want to play this one out. I really want to play more Kingdom this year. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that goes. And I hope maybe some other people will enjoy it and find something that they can use from it. So those are the posts that I've had up in January. I'm looking forward to February. We've got a couple more Play on Target podcast episodes dropping in February. One on experience and power levels, and another one on building trust with players. And then I've already got out my first post for February, which I'll let you go and look at the blog. In any case, all the links for these posts are in the show notes, so you can check those out. And I hope you leave comments if you found that interesting, or if you found this useful, or if the lighting is terrible and the sound is awful. You can also point that out to me, since this is the first time I've tried to do this. So thanks very much for watching, and I will talk to you later.